Hello! In today's video, I'm going to show you how to use the transform tools. The transform tools are located under the Edit drop-down menu, but notice that it's grayed out here, and that is because our background layer is still locked. When you first open up a photo in Photoshop, it's basically trying to preserve and protect that base original photo. So if you are going to make changes on it, it makes you click on the lock, simply click on it, it unlocks it and allows you to make all kinds of more adjustments and changes to the photo. It's just a little safeguard. So now when I click on edit, I can get to transform, and I have lots of different options here. These are pretty self-explanatory: rotating, flipping horizontal. I'll just do really quick just to show you. Command Z to undo that. So you can do that. But today I'm going to focus on these. One, scale, rotate, skew, distort, and perspective. Scale we do all the time, right? When we use our Move Transform tool, we can scale things. This is just moving it, but we can scale it. Let's see, I'll try that one more time. Scale. And if I click and drag, we are scaling. All right. I'll just leave it like that so it kind of gives us a visual cue that I have changed something. Let's go back and try the next one. Rotate, that one is also fairly self-explanatory. Just remember that you have to hover your cursor outside the edges of the little handle there to get that to rotate. And then also remember you can either undo or say yes please to the rotation. Skew gets a little bit more interesting once you have that selected, and I can move these corners forward and back, up and down, and create some pretty interesting effect. Okay, I can skew the photograph. Distort gives me even more control. Can do some really strange things. And perspective. Oh, actually, let's go to warp for a second. Warp is also pretty interesting. It shows you this grid. When I'm clicking and holding on the mouse, it shows me this grid, and I can kind of, there's a lot of different handles and things that I have control over in Warp. Warp is actually pretty fun. I've had definitely done some interesting things with Warp. So play around with Warp. That can be super cool. And then I actually want to show you the perspective last, but I want to get back to almost the original photo here before I go to that last transform. Oops, I went back a little bit too far. I was still locked. Okay. Transform perspective. Now this is actually quite useful when you take pictures of architecture, and one of the reasons why I chose this photo is notice how this was an extreme wide angle lens, and this rock is actually kind of distorted out to the edge, that the lens distorted it, and you can really see it in a photograph of architecture because that skyscraper is kind of bend. And so this perspective can actually bring things back into more in line of what you would see visually with your eye. Notice how this rock was sort of bent outward. You know, I'll emphasize it for a second, but even in the original photo, it's sort of bent outward. So I'm going to bring it in a little bit to sort of straighten it up and click OK. Now I do have some weird edges though. So then if you're going to do that with architecture or so on, then you're going to have to come in and crop a little bit. Get those funny transparent edges out. But as you can see now, the rock and the horizon line is much more straight. And I could have maybe even gone a little bit farther there, but you get the idea. So go ahead and please play around with all of the transform tools just randomly, just so you get a sense of how they work, and turn in the resulting image. It doesn't have to look good. This is really about process more than product. It's about just experimenting than the end result. All right, have fun.